All right. Hello, everyone. It has been a minute since anything was uploaded on this channel. However, during this hiatus, I have continued to conduct several interviews, and so now I have a backlog. This is one of those backlogged interviews. Uh, Myself and Maurice Crawford, shouts out to Maurice Crawford from KRUI, got together and were able to interview Mannequin Pussy. They visited Iowa City in early April for the Mission Creek Festival, and incredible opportunity to sit down with the band. Had a really good time. Glad you were a part of that. Maurice, thanks so much for co-interviewing with me, and I hope you all enjoy this interview. Mannequin Pussy's a fire band, and shouts out to them for, supporting a small college radio station. But anywho, enjoy this content and enjoy this video. Yes, Mannequin Pussy here in Iowa City. First of all, I want to ask, thank you so much for coming to Iowa City. We're very excited to have you, and we're big Mannequin Pussy fans here at KRUI. Off the top, this is KRUI 89.7 FM, Iowa City. Glad to have you all in the studio, or not in the studio, here with us.
Yeah, in the dressing room.
In the dressing room.
In the green room. How's it going?
Off the top, I want to ask, Mannequin Pussy is from Philadelphia, and I know Philadelphia has a pretty insane punk rock music scene. A lot of insane people have come out of there. We've got the Dead Milk Band, Modern Baseball, of course, Jay Brecky, Japanese Breakfast, Piss Jeans, and one of my personal favorites is an older band called Kayatana. I don't think they're still active.
Oh, I know. They're not active, but we know them well. Yeah,
pretty sick band. Mannequin Pussy has gained enough notoriety in the past couple of years to be a pretty tour-based band that thrives on the open road and performing live. And I want to ask, do you ever dip back into the local Philly scene? All the new and upcoming bands from the city?
Oh, absolutely. I feel like I go to shows a lot. When my off time is definitely going to see either bigger bands that I love or haven't been able to see because we tour so much, or trying to see what's going on in the neighborhood. And there's actually a club down the street from my house called Yuki Club that's run by this collective called 4333, and they're like the new Philadelphia booking giant of like DIY kind of vibes. Like they're really just trying to get more bands into the city to do DIY shows. And that's my main source now of like, oh, there's band from out of town or even like other local bands that are dope. So there are a lot of cool ones like there's Halloween. There's also Tagabo is one of them. And then there's a few others. Like there's, the mainstays too. Like my favorite are like our homies in like So Glow, like love them. And like Philadelphia will constantly keep thriving. It's definitely changing, but like we're adapting to try and like keeping a hub of awesome dope music, I would say.
Would you say, are there any up and coming artists in the city that you think are kind of not carrying the scene, but contributing pretty heavily to the scene and kind of becoming the next generation of these artists coming out of Philly?
Oh, like the ones I mentioned before. Tagabo is like, there's some freaks and they're really doing some cool stuff. There's also, Halloween. There's, I'm trying to think who else. There's a few others. They're there. There's a new band called Commitment, which is a pretty cool one. Just like very aggressive hardcore. Like there's a lot of stuff still going on in Philly, and there's probably even stuff I don't even know yet because they're still trying to figure it out. And that's also the beauty of Philly. Like you can like really cut your teeth on that city and do something if you put your mind and effort to it.
Okay, I guess like I was wondering, could you guys give me like a brief kind of origin story of the band?
I think like any sort of passion project and like any sort of project that gets started, it's like you have an idea, and the longer the idea sits inside of you, the longer it eats away at you if you don't do it. So I kind of feel like when you get that spark of like, I want to start a band, I want to learn how to play guitar, I want to like write music with other people. If you get that spark in you, it's like, go do it. Like you're being directed towards something to do it. And if you're very lucky, you'll find like incredible creative collaborators to then create with. So I feel like the origin story of this band is always kind of like also in its own stage of development, as well as we like continue to grow and evolve into these like new versions of ourselves as artists. So, but yeah, I mean, it's like kind of started how any band starts, with like just an idea and a lot of passion and, you know, the willingness to suck publicly and the willingness to just absolutely eat shit for years, you know? And then, like, maybe if you're lucky and you, like, eat enough shit and you suck enough publicly, you just, like, all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, actually, I'm kind of good at this. Like, actually, like, we kind of rock.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah, it's, like, kind of like a magical thing that evolves. And the name is both a joke and very, very serious. So I'll leave it at that.
Derived from the same scene in Philly that is so, I think, notoriously known in the punk rock community, your stage presence is very clearly one of a band that loves to perform live. And of course, the sound is always important, but how does the energy and band dynamic transfer from band to studio or studio to stage?
Well, I guess like on this last record, we actually really wanted to go back a little bit more to how we used to make records, which was more like band live in a room to capture that energy. So like, you know, we've made records like a few different ways now, and like, you know, there's a very you know, there's a few schools of thought sort of on it, where it's like on the one you can make something really polished when everyone is playing separately and everyone's like their parts are being captured separately and then being brought together like in the production. But for this one, we kind of wanted to go back a little bit to the energy of the first two records, where like rhythm, guitar, bass, and drums were all being captured at the same time, which I think like gives the album that sort of like rawness and kind of, I mean, I think more of like a cathartic, almost spirituality that you would experience at a show than something that's pristine or perfect, because I don't think that we are a pristine or perfect band.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I feel like our live performance is so much about the energy that we have, and it's hard to really put something that you would see live about us into a recording. Like, that recording is probably the best representation of us that we could give you, like, of like a live setting where everything happened perfectly.
The most
But
recent record?
yeah, exactly. I Got Heaven. But I feel like what's brought people to us has always been our live show. Is that, like, you know, Missy is an amazing front person, knows how to like grab the crowd and like hold you guys by your necks and then release you and then you go crazy. It's like insane to see. And then like Maxine and Kayleen are just like some of the best players, and I'm just like going ape, like throwing my hair back and forth, like just trying to create, you know, a place of just like being free, being open, because we want that from you, and we don't get to do that too much, you know, nowadays. So like that's the best thing I think we have is that live show.
Yeah, you got to have a place to be a freak.
Does your growth
You know?
in the past couple of years, that exponential growth as band has experienced, change anything about that dynamic?
No, I think actually, if anything, it just allows us to be in a bigger room with more freaks.
Yeah.
like us, you know, like we really are a band that believes that like our audience is a reflection of us, and that's something that we like take really serious, is like the role that we play as artists to facilitate a cathartic experience, because it's a world that makes it very difficult to have that, you know. Like I think we're all just, something we talk about in our shows is that we're all just being trained all the time to shove things down and not to acknowledge them, but this is a place where it is actually okay to like let those more uncomfortable feelings and moments of rage and catharsis kind of come out.
Okay, just kind of a fun question. Like, what's like your favorite album, or just something that like inspires you guys?
Ooh, favorite. I mean, I'm such a red flag, and the way it's like Radiohead is just like House of like In Rainbows is just, to me, the most perfect album that exists. I think I just have like a very special connection to that record as well, because that was, for me, like I'd like listen to like Kid A and stuff like that growing up, but I'm like, to me, like In Rainbows was really like my pill in getting into Radiohead, because it was also at the time the first album that was like openly given away for free on the internet. And so I think it was like when, like that would have been like 2007 or something. I was like, oh shit, this band that like I already like kind of like and know some songs by is like giving an album away for free on the internet. And I was like, I went to their website at the time to download it, and like that shit changed my life. That shit blew my mind. It was the most beautiful, sexy, mesmerizing, emotional record I think I'd ever heard, and it still continues to blow my mind. And I think that's like a testament of a lasting album, is one that like, almost 20 years later is still, you're looking at from a place of awe. It's not like you've figured out everything from it. So yeah, I think that's like my go-to red flag album for me. I love it. And I think I only say that because they say that like, who online says like Radiohead is like incel music or something? I don't know if I believe that. I don't know if I agree with that, but I guess lock me up if it is.
Look, I am unfortunately also a Radiohead fan, so I think
you're in the same space. You're in the same place. We do not. It's not to be unfortunate. I'm just gonna piggyback off my homie. Yeah, I agree. It's definitely like the band that like all of us as a band has been like, yeah, like if it pops on, we're like, yo, start it from the top. Like let's just go front to back. Like I was listening to it actually on the way here. Like it's like, yeah, I woke up to videotape and I was like, crap, I gotta start it over.
That's the end.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, love that album.
Now, another thing that Mannequin Pussy has become known for is from the very beginning. Mannequin Pussy's been a very outspoken band, politically, socially, and it can be a pretty heated political climate, especially under the current presidential administration. In such a heated political climate, what motivates you all to keep speaking out about issues affecting our nation and the globe, the entire world, really, when it would be much simpler to just kind of play music and let fans enjoy the art?
Well, I think for us, it's just like the music is an extension of the emotions that we're already grappling with in our private lives. And like, I think, this is something we've talked about before, like within the context of our group, is like whether we like it or not, the identities of the people in this band have been politicized. So like, we don't really have a choice but then to see our own lives and experiences as basically being used as political pawns in some ways, or as like, I don't know, like, we understand what it's like to be hated just for being who you are. And I think that is actually an experience that most people can relate to. And like, we don't see our music as some sort of like fantasy escape from that, but like an examination of, and a place for us to like put the rage that we feel about that into. And personally speaking, like I did study in college, and I studied like political science, and I was just like very, yeah. It was like, yeah, now I do this, but like I kind of seems like almost like the best use of that degree in some way, because like really what that degree did to me was open my eyes to just the absolute mythology and lie of the United States, and the way that it, asserts itself as this fantastic myth that believes in freedom for all, and then you just have to peel away the tiniest little layer to be like, that's fucking bullshit. And like, why do we not call out these systems? Why are we not more like beholden to each other and want to support each other in our communities, rather than like this individualistic capitalist fight that like we're kind of forced into? And so I think just like that experience of being a young like adult going through the university system, learning about these systems in place, and then kind of getting into activism and protests and things like that, and seeing that like very much like art, that is a lifelong commitment. That's not like really like a phase of your life. Maybe you show up in different ways, maybe you like speak on it in different ways, but it is just like this ever-present commitment you make to like observing the world around you and being honest about the world around you.
Yeah, I would say, I don't know, how can you ignore what's going on in your day? Like we, as much as we can just be entertainers and go on stage and just play the songs and say goodnight, but it's like we're seeing the same news you guys are seeing. We're getting the same messages and wondering like, how could I even get on stage right now when they're just trying to like hurt so many people that I know and love, like even within the people that I'm getting on stage with. So it's kind of hard to not to like go on stage and not say something when you're just like, you know, as soon as the mic hits my hand, the first thing I'm just like, oh my God, like I want to be like, are we all just taking crazy pills? Like how is all this happening right now? So I think it's just important to like, you know, have that moment. Like I would love if everything was great and we could just go out there and play the songs, but it's like, you know, it is an extension of us. Like, you know, these songs are personal because we care. And we care about the people that are also listening to this music because, like, we're all trying to make sense of life, you know?
You know, maybe it's all a ruse by Big Poli Sci, so we have something left to study. No, I would say you have a very diverse collection of artists in this band. And, I mean, pretty indicative of the punk rock scene. Well, let me rephrase that. It's become a pretty controversial matter to discuss diversity in the current political climate, and Mannequin Pussy is a very diverse band, which is not the most typical of a punk rock collective, which has historically been dominated by white men, I will say, and the crowds, the performers have been dominantly white men, and so having so many people having so much representation in your collective as a focal point for why people gather in these scenes. What are some of the unique experience you've observed as either people of color, as minority populations, women, in this punk rock scene that have like the most angst to offer in the punk rock scene? As a focal point of why people gather, what are some of the unique experiences you either had or observed as people of color and minorities in general that come to the shows and add to the energy of punk rock?
Off the top of my head, I'd say Front Row Barricade, being pretty much predominantly all like young women and femme people, is something I've never seen at a punk show ever in my life. Like growing up, I definitely felt like there were just a few. And you know, there's obviously so much more to be said for like the ways in which the scene can diversify, but I think it's also just about people feeling comfortable and safe within that. You know, it's not sometimes that like people are not interested in the music, is that maybe they don't really feel like they would be respected in that space or feel comfortable in that space. So our role as artists is to make sure that every single person who walks through the door does feel like they belong in that space and there is a place for them. And I mean, as to like the diversity of our band, like that's just like a complete accident, and like that's just the way that like we found each other and came together. And like, but I think it's also like a representation of just like how we live our lives privately and like who we are and how we see and show up for each other. But I mean, I think Bear should speak on
yeah, like I feel like everyone in this band has, you know, attempted to do music and saw the barriers that were in front of us immediately as soon as you walk through the door. You know what I mean? Like they're just right off the bat, like, you know, it's definitely a white boys club. When I was so young and like first shows I would go to, I was like always the only black or brown person in the room. And I was like, all right, well, it is what it is. But like, I want this music. I want, like, they're not going to stop me from showing up. And that's like, I think the biggest thing is like representation is like, you got to keep showing up. You have to be that diversity. You know what I mean? Sometimes you have to just be like, you can't get rid of me. And I'm just going to like, all right, I'm just going to be the person that plays music so I can be that brown person in this town. And then steps and steps after that, there we are. I see like even from our touring, like more black and brown people at the shows. It's way more queer, way more diverse in sexuality and identity. And it's such a beautiful thing because like I want to see community when I see music and people come see our band. Like I want it to be a sea of like everyone, because that's what music should always be. It's just for everybody.
As a black no, look, I'm like in a heavy Deftones era right now, and I almost went to one of their shows, but like I've definitely been scared. So I definitely feel that fear as well. As a fan of punk rock, lifelong fan, I mean, it's a very white dominant spaces, and so like even Iowa City has a pretty underground crowd. There's a lot of house venues, which I mean, I would say I'm very impressed with Iowa City's underground scene, but something like going to a house venue is very intimidating as a person of color in this city.
I'm gonna be real with you. there's a lot of Black Deftones fans. Like a lot of us. There's a lot, especially Latin America. Yo, like you guys know what I'm talking about. You will, yeah, like you'll be fine. you'll have a great time. Like Pantera or something, I'd be like,
Radiohead.
I think.
There's probably a time to do, but, you know.
Okay, just another fun question. Like, what like hobbies or any like weird personal interests you guys have?
Oh, so many. I mean, I feel like that's where you become like a true rounded individual. Weird stuff, I don't know. I'll probably keep that to the chest. But no, I mean, I'm like incredibly domestic. I've like because I think also just by the virtue of the way that we like live our lives out of the house a lot, like the main thing for me now at this point in my life is like having a home that feels really comfortable and safe and rejuvenating and revitalizing to be in. So I mean, I've just like I think I've become like a very good cook, like whereas like cooking is like a passion and a hobby for me, just like that nourishment, that time that I don't know. And I just like I love like cooking a meal for myself. I love cooking a meal for my friends and people that I love. What else do I love to do? I love to do Pilates. I love to work on my body. I want to just be so strong. Basically, I just like want to be like so strong and so healthy so that like I can do this for as long as physically and humanly and spiritually possible. And I think we just like learned last year that like playing 100 shows in a year is so fucking stupid. I mean, like it was like amazing and everything, but like it really like broke us down in a lot of ways, and it just but it reignited that like you really need to take care of yourself, and like that's not just a lesson for artists. It's like this is a world that like wants you to feel like you are constantly just under the pressure of burning the candle at both ends. And like I think it's easier for us to say as artists now because we're in this like privileged position where our lives are different now. So like we have a little bit more like pockets of time to care for ourselves and put ourselves back together, but at the same time we spend like a lot of time just like in transit, which is just tough on the brain. I don't know, like big film nerd. I just like I'm gonna get a projector soon for my new house, and just like I don't know, I just like want to like cozy up and watch fun shit and be fun and do cool stuff and see. I just like want to, if I could just like see one beautiful thing a day, that's like what I'm like super horny for, basically.
Yeah, mostly video games. Yeah, I recently got into photography. I used to do it in high school, but I stopped for a bit, and so now I've been like, having fun with like Polaroids and got a little digital camera. I've been, bopping around with that. And then like I collect records. I do a lot of like homebody, like she said, like, I don't know, we're on the road so much that like when I get home, like I pretty much tell everyone, I was like, you're not going to see me for like 2 weeks. Like I'm going to be at home playing with my cat, playing video games, listening to records, like doing something else. Like you're not going to find me at the bar too often, but I'll go out for a show. But I'm the guy who's like, when are they playing? All right, I'm going to show up then, and then I'm like, all right, they're done. I'm out of here. Like,
I guess for one of my last questions, Maurice, I'm not sure if you have a couple more to ask, but this is primarily for Missy. I've watched several of your interviews, and you've mentioned that it's kind of boring to be the lead singer when you're on tour because so many of the fun activities are really bad for the vocals, and you would like to deliver for the audience that comes to see your shows. And you bring so much energy to the stage, although your sobriety on tour is not necessarily intentional for the most part. Do you find that you take out the angst that's pent up on stage, or do you find that the angst that you feel and are unable to express in other ways that like band members can when you're on tour doing the party things, do you find that inspires the angst that you express on stage?
You mean like the like almost like separation I feel a bit? Yeah, I mean it's like I see it as it's a job, and so it's like I have to do the things and make the sacrifices that are necessary in order to perform at the best of my ability. And like, this is like times are not fucking easy and things are not fucking cheap, and so like I feel honored that we get to be on stage at all in front of people who want to see us, and like it wouldn't serve anything. It wouldn't serve us as a band, or it wouldn't serve the audience if I like indulged in things that would make the performance worse, because, you know, they've like spent $35 or whatever and like their time and their night to like come see us. So like I want to be the best version of myself for them. And it really, I think that like I'm constantly like expelling this like kind of like ever-present rage that's inside of me all the time. So I feel lighter sometimes after performances, but I have learned that like the ways in which we like need to reset are a little different. And so I do often feel like, especially on like much longer stretches of tour, I feel very lonely because I have to just like hide myself away. Like I can't like really talk a lot during the day. I can't smoke anymore. Like I have to be very like monk-like almost in order to like harness the energy that's required for the show. And I think last year it was really tough for me to really understand that like, yeah, like off stage we do have like different experiences, but it's all within, you know, what's necessary for the collective and what's necessary for the performance. So it's like that's just what I'm willing to do, and the band understands that. And you know, I think it's you know, I think there was a minute where like where I think maybe it was like oh, like why isn't Missy hanging out with us? And it's like, well, she can't. she can't talk, she can't smoke, she can't like, she's just gotta fucking hide away. So yeah, she must be, she's gotta think about her whole life. Yeah, basically. And but it's like, you know, I realize that like the person that I am on the road isn't the person that I always have to be. And so I think like once I kind of unlocked that, it got a little bit easier to deal with a bit. But yeah, it's just like it's part of this life. And again, yeah, it's like I'll do whatever you got to do to keep that as healthy as possible so that we can do it for as long as possible.
I just want to get off maybe 2 quick questions.
Yeah.
Are there any like producers or any like collaborations that you want to do in the future?
I mean, I really want to work with John Congleton again, who did our last record. I just like absolutely adore him. I loved the experience that we had. I'd love to make more music together again. Someone whose production I also really love is like Dave Sitek, who did the early Yeah Yeah Yeahs records. I think he's just like brilliant and very cool, and those records are forever cemented in my mind as just like glorious masterpieces of rock. Who else do I love? I mean, there's definitely like a lot of other artists who I would love to collaborate with and make songs with, but like I feel like that's a pretty long list. We're not a band that's like really done like a lot of collabs for our records, but I could see that like one day inviting more people into our creative world.
I would love if like some artists wanted to like use one of our songs as a sample to make a song. You know what I mean? Like make a beat from it, or like I would. Like, I don't know, like, you know, I think we've talked about this before, but yeah, SZA, if you ever want to take a track and, like, you know, do your thing over it, like, I'm here for it.
My last one, it's kind of a deep question, but, like, what do you want your guys' legacy to be as a band?
Yeah. Our legacy as a band. Just, like, nothing much. Just, like, one of the all-time great rock bands. Yeah, you know, just like I think I feel a lot of that our legacy is already in play, where when I see so many young people who are picking up an instrument for the first time and they're covering our songs in their band and they look more like we do, and there's this new generation of like young people who aren't seeing the same sorts of barriers perhaps that we did when we were coming up, who are just like immediately like, yeah, I can do this. That feels like an important part of the legacy, when you have people who are, again, yeah, just picking up an instrument for the first time and being like, that's a song I want to learn. Like, I want to learn how to play a Mannequin Pussy song. And that's how you just like inspire the next generation of artists. And, you know, again, like I think I said it a little earlier, like being an artist is a lifelong commitment. So you hope that your legacy and your relationship to it will continue to take you on new and unexpected paths in your life. So yeah, like we were just saying yesterday, actually, we have to like make a new list of goals. Yeah. We're a very goal-oriented band.
Yeah, we like to make a little dream board.
Yeah. So we checked off everything. A lot of them. So we're like, okay, cool. Like, let's dream up the next the next big era for us.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like more importantly too is that like we influence people to know that they can do it their way too. Like, you don't have to believe that you have to, change your name or have to change the style of music, or, if you're too different, and like do it all, because like there are going to be people who are going to accept you for exactly who you are.
Who gives a fuck what the mainstream is
yeah,
doing?
yeah, exactly.
Stop being copycats of the things that you see other people are doing that you see as being successful. You do not have to be like them at all. You don't have to sound like them. You don't have to mimic their voices. Just find you. Like, find your voice. You don't even have to have a good voice. You just have to have your voice, and you have to have something to say, and you need commitment to that. Like, that is the ultimate piece of advice. I know you didn't ask for advice, but
that gets 5 big booms. Boom, 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 boom. Sorry. But yeah.
All right, well, I was sitting Mannequin Pussy. Thank you so much for sitting down with us. This is KRUI 89.7 FM for Mission Creek Festival. Thank you all for being here.
yeah, thank you so much for your thoughtful questions.
Thank you. All right.